Welcome back to Sex and Whiskey, a gay crashers podcast. In our series, hosts Nikki and RJ will sip on a dram of the good stuff while discussing the more exciting stuff. We will take you on a journey, exploring whiskeys from around the world, while also educating you on the birds and the bees, especially correcting what school or your parents missed on. Our goal is to promote a safe and fun environment that will leave you empowered and educated on your next bedroom adventure. So sit back, pour a drink, and get ready for Sex and Whiskey. Hello, everyone. It is our 4th episode. Oh, wow. We are burning through them so quickly. I am one of your co-hosts, RJ. I've been a registered nurse for plenty of years. And with me, as always, is...
I'm Nikki. Pronouns, she, they. I'm sex, health, and wellness coach, and I've been a registered dietitian for a hot minute, for a while.
At least at the bare minimum, a hot minute, bare minimum.
I don't know what time is, but
Yes.
I'm still paying for the degree. So.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah,
well,
that's fine. I'm a professional.
You know what? Education. That's what you, you're fine. You'll be fine. My pronouns are he, him. I missed that one. Damn it. 4th episode. We'll get there.
It's fine.
I'll get there. All right. So before we jump in to our first flight, I do want to give a content warning for this episode involving body dysmorphia, any sort of body image disorders, any sort of eating disorders. They will be discussed, and if that is something that you're uncomfortable listening to, I advise you now to go back through our catalog. We have 3 other amazing episodes, and hopefully we'll find another one for you down the road as well. As for right now, I can think of nothing better than jumping into our first flight of whiskey, rye, bourbons, whatever brown liquor you brought. Would you like to get started, or do you want me to get started?
Oh, I think usually you go first. Have I ever gone first? I don't know. I've already forgotten. I'll go first. I don't remember. I don't know. I'll go first because I'm looking at my notes.
You should always go first.
Okay. So my first pick of the night is by Walsh. It's an Irish whiskey called Writer's Tears. It is one of my favorite sipping whiskeys, just to drink, I bottle it with my own tears. I'm actually the one that makes it. No, as someone who writes, there's a lot of crying involved. And so when I first discovered this, I was like, that's fucking hilarious. And then I tried it and I was like, actually, it's really good. I thought I would hate it for some reason.
Yeah. The punnier the name, you worry about how it's going to taste.
You're like, oh, it's almost too perfect of a name for what it is. And then you're like, oh, no, wait, it's good. And so, but then it's really bad because you're writing and you're crying and then you're drinking. Anyway, I actually really liked this one. There's a lot of fruit in it, like cooked fruit, apricot, some cinnamon. So I don't know, kind of like pie, I guess, like a nice baked pie. However, there's a lot of malt and citrus as well. Let's see. I don't remember. I don't have my original notes on it when I first tried it. And this is a brand new pour 10 minutes ago. So it's probably got, I don't know, a kick to it. But yeah, cheers. Writer's Tears.
Here's a Writer's Tears. I think about that in the pun of a name, especially when there was a beer called Blood, Sweat, and Beers. Hilarious. Not a great beer though. Not at all. Discontinued, thankfully.
Probably for a reason.
Definitely for a reason. So I also brought a whiskey from Scotland. So this is Johnny Walker Red. So for those who are unfamiliar with Johnny Walker, there's different colors associating basically with kind of the flavor profile and the cost of the bottle. And this is the bare minimum. This is like their base whiskey. And it's kind of near and dear to my heart because it is bottled, well, was originally founded and bottled in the town that my grandmother grew up in Scotland. And that some of my great uncles have worked at in the factory. So my blood is poured there as well. So the tasting notes here is it just burns. There's nothing, nothing special about it. It's not great. It's really not great.
It's like, was that Buffalo Trace that I had? That
Yes,
the one where I was like, this is awful, but here I'm
this
drinking it.
It's a great drink if you either just lost the love of your life, or like your pet ran away, the IRS is coming after you. Like this is the bottle that you break open and you're like, well, guess I'm not seeing the week. So cheers.
Cheers. Just all the way back. I'm sorry. Oh man, this is what you drink when everything's on fucking fire.
Absolutely. If anything, that should be kind of standard bottle in every house, like in case of emergency, like crack open this and you'll just forget what you're worried about. Yeah. So this episode is going to be an episode, and that's the best way to describe it. We're going to start by talking about bodies in general, because bodies are weird. Penises, vaginas, boobies, butts, buttholes, just a whole slew of just weirdness and awkwardness. I'm going to discuss a little bit about kind of growing up with your adolescent issues, especially as a young man, as I once was. And, in locker rooms, growing up, especially in a weird stage where in high school, you're 13, 14 with 17, 18-year-old guys, and everybody's got weird hair and things are shaped differently and look differently, and just trying to get a sense of your own identity is difficult at that time because there's no really great point of reference, because everybody's different. That's the standard way to put it. Everybody is different. And kind of having certain expectations upon yourself and how you're going to look and how you're going to feel and how things are going to progress, mature in your own body. And unfortunately being pleased or disappointed with how things turn out is unfortunately just a fact of life, and something about kind of understanding and accepting kind of where you are and who you are. So from my perspective, I think it's tough to kind of have so many awful things happening to your body at once. I can't think of, I want to say it was Eddie Izzard, a great comedian, who kind of made a point to say, nothing like trying to like explore your sexual identity at that age when everything that is wrong with you can be wrong with you. From acne to weird body odors, hairs, just everything's a mess. Yet you are ramped up to 11 in horniness and just trying to, see what you can do. So that is the plight of growing up. What are your thoughts, Nikki?
I think that, growing up, those young years where your hormones happening, everything's changing, and especially what you're exposed to, not only in a locker room. I was not in a locker room in high school. I was in a hallway crying about something because I was a real moody kid. I still am. But I mean, honestly, like
I just thought you were saying you were changing in the hallway, and I was
no,
like, what
no.
fucking school?
I didn't have to do gem. I was at a language arts school thing where I took a language, so I didn't have to do gem. I don't know. Like I don't know how it works.
Where do the credits bounce on that?
I just didn't have to take gym stuff in high school. I'm really glad because middle school fucked me up in the locker room, actually. Like it really did. And I was made fun of like quite a bit. And because I was, I think a lot of people who get to deal with, breasts happening.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's like the comparison of size, but if your boobs are too big at a young age, you're also made fun of by like your peers, but then you're just like a target for creeps as well. And so I had like both of those things happening, where people would be creepy when I was just out living my life and I'm, you know, 11, 12, 13 years old. And then people I'm in school with who are just like, hey, here's a comment about your tits, and we're just getting ready to like play some shitty basketball that no one's paying attention to. So you have those like tiny things that, and they're not that tiny, I guess, when I say them out loud, but for me, I was just like living with it and internalizing it. And
Mm-hmm.
I have all of that. And then things like magazines, Cosmo magazine, what my mother was doing and how she related to her body, what I thought was normal was to be obsessed with like being skinny.
Mm-hmm.
And then just in terms of like horniness and whatnot, um, all of that mixed together really influenced like my self-worth. And I honestly didn't know what was normal. I do know that I got attention for boobs. Like people liked my boobs. I got a lot of attention. And I was like, cool, that's what does it. And that's like such a weird thing because nothing else, like dealing with like vulva, vagina, shaving,
Mm-hmm.
deodorant, like all of these other hygiene things, like I really didn't have anyone to talk to me about those things when I hit that age. How I would, just because of shit that happened in my life. So I had like all of this stuff and I'm like, I don't know what's normal, but I do know people like boobs. So I got that going for me. And so I had like a lot of self-worth tied up into boobs for a long time. And I think about what it looks like now and what is normal for bodies, especially for me, and
Mm-hmm.
people saying like, you should do XYZ for your body, like things like shaving and body parts you should shave and stuff like that. And even
Mm-hmm.
that like really starts to pick at me. And when we think about it, we all have body hair. I think this is the one that's really gets me, like with just bodies are weird. We all have body hair. What is this fucking standard about people, certain things needing to be shaved on certain genders and not
Mm-hmm.
others? Like what is that? And then if you don't meet that expectation, you get questioned as like, oh, what's wrong with you? And then
Mm-hmm.
I know for people with chest hair, if they want chest hair, then that's like a whole thing. Like, thanks, RJ. And then, or like a
I'm part of the
beard.
brotherhood.
Yeah, like, Charlie Cox, you're right there with Charlie Cox. Yep. Um, but when you think about like stuff like body hair and you look to somebody else and you're like, oh, why don't I look like that? Or even just regular hair on your head, like, why don't I look like that? Like, that's what sexy is, or that's what's desirable. That's what people want. And a lot of times you're just looking at your peers. You're not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily looking for a partner. Or you're learning this shit from your family or a magazine. I don't know if anyone reads magazines anymore, but now it would be Instagram.
No, well, see, we are in that fun that we were in that fun timeline where Maxim, FHM, Playboy was still a thing. There was do you I mean you're familiar with Maxim and F no?
I've never opened any of those magazines.
Oh my
I
goodness.
raised there's no one in my house that had them. I found out about them a different way.
Down the road.
Down the road. Yeah.
Okay.
And I didn't watch
So
porn until I was
yesterday. So
I haven't
the
yet actually.
what is that? So I'll give you we're gonna go down this road. Okay. So
Go.
say you're a gentleman. Okay, I was 17 at the time. I remember going to a Barnes and Noble. On the back wall section of Barnes and Noble, there was magazines from like automotive, real estate, everything like that. And then there was like a leisure, health and leisure. Okay. Now in the top section of health and leisure, there was Maxim, which was scantily clad women, but also like movie reviews and like car reviews and like stuff like that. Then there was FHM, which was like very similar to Maxim. Then there was Playboy, which Playboy was just the standard, like, here is this naked woman. That's it. And the joke was like, oh, well, we read Playboy for the articles, because they did interview like a ton of people, and there was like comics and stuff like that, dirty comics, obviously. But
actually, I will say I know about Playboy because my uncle used to write for Playboy.
Yes. So see, they're and not for nothing, but like the interviews were great. Like
they were good.
They actually did like do a good job there. But there was also tits and ass. So it was like kind of like, you know, that.
Is that what we're trying to do? Kind of.
We're Sex and Whiskey. We're very different.
Okay.
It's
sorry.
Yeah, there we go. So I mean the thing there too is we also were in a generation where internet was dial up. We hadn't really gotten to that like high speed internet type of position. So a lot of like kind of pornography in that set was either you were going to an adult store back room, or you were getting Playboy or something like that, or you were stealing your father's Playboy if he got those to his house or something like that. And that was what you saw as a woman's body. That's what you saw as like, okay, we're getting personal here. The serious girlfriends that I had early on, I did not know that vaginas grew hair the way they could grow hair, because the first girlfriends that I had all were told that you had to be completely like barren down there and completely clean, and like no one would like look at you twice if that was.
Who's
I know.
telling?
I don't know. I know. Is there a pamphlet that's going out? Like, is the
I don't know.
So not to not to derail there, but it kind of set up these like expectations of how someone should look. Okay. Now it's interesting because, you know, this version of this person, okay, so we had this like weird love lust in the 80s and 90s of like monster tits, like huge tits, and like that's cool and all, but like the rest of the body was just like, ugh, like this like that was like that was it. Like it was just like, oh, look at those tits, like holy shit. And then like, you know, the meteoric rise of like Hooters and those sort of like establishments and stuff like that. And I'm actually very happy that we have kind of finally started to normalize how bodies are actually supposed to look like. Very happy that, you know, bodies, just bodies, like, you know, just legs, how they're like how like they look how legs are supposed to look. Like curves are like finally being embraced and coming back into where they always been, and people are appreciating. And I think the take home that we kind of discussed yesterday was that there's someone for everyone, and that, you know, everyone, there is a type for everybody, and that, you know, you can't think to yourself that, you know, nobody wants me, my body is going to be unloved forever, because that's bullshit. It's absolute bullshit. Trust me when I tell you this. Absolutely trust me. Okay. That no matter what flaw you perceive of yourself, that is this thing that someone might love the most about you. So that's the mild draw here. But I do want to reflect upon a young Nikki How
Oh
did
God.
you, okay, so now you're in this position where you obviously were not super comfortable with asking questions about how your body should look and how what direction your body should take. So
Hmm.
what was your outlet? What was your avenue? How did you actually kind of confront this?
Oh my gosh. I'm, when I'm thinking back to that age, oh man, you know what? This might actually take it somewhere kind of personal, but I'll say it. I had somebody in my life who was older than me
Mhm.
who kind of took it upon themselves, and it was a family member. As like, she was like, "Hey, I'm the cool aunt, and I'll help teach you about this stuff." And I'm starting, like, now that you said it, because we didn't, honestly, this wasn't a thing that we brought up yesterday, but um, she was like, "I'll take you to a sex toy shop, and you can look at stuff there, and there's like stuff like that." And so my exposure to that when I was like 15, 16 set it up as an, okay, you over sexualize your body. Um, and that's what it was, because that she thought she was helping me.
Mhm.
I'm not going to take it any further than that, but that was like a huge thing where I started looking at my body from the lens of sexual attraction and desirability
Mhm.
based on some of the things around me, and the people around me. And I think that did like a lot of damage. It also probably plays into the fact that um, in order to be loved, you have to be a certain way, and equating love with sex, because that's sort of
Mhm.
the lesson I got. And that came down to, you know, how do you look? How do you present to the other person? So I think honestly, the way that I sort of learned my body is that kind of, I don't want to put myself out there like that, but I was, oof, I didn't have the best reputation, which is rude. I don't want to say I was slut shamed, but I was, I guess, just in high school, because I was like, just how do I explore bodies? This is what you do. Let's fuck around. And so I think that's sort of how I learned about mine, at least. And for the most part, the people everybody that I was with, it eventually turned into like, we don't care, we're just getting some. Like, and I think that is something to think about that sort of shapes how I think about my body now.
Mhm.
Um, when I'm like, oh, am I not attractive to another person? I'm like, honestly, if we were looking to have sex, it's kind of, previous episode, that's really not a thing that's on my mind. But um, if we're, if I'm worried about that and being sexually desirable to someone, I feel like 9 times out of 10, if they were a person I wanted to be around in the first place, they would be down to fuck regardless of what I look like, you know, regardless of if my legs are shaved, if I've been waxed recently, if I decide to stop shaving my underarms, if I've like gained 20 pounds during the pandemic, like they, that person, if I want to share my body with them, I need to be comfortable in my own body. And that's like a whole thing to figure out, which took time. And I would only like want to share that with them if they respect the fact that all bodies are bodies. And I will say one of the lines, so I'm going to bring up 50 Shades of Grey just because why the fuck not? That's where we are out of nowhere. One of the lines that sticks with me in 50 Shades of Grey is, it's just a body, baby, something like that. And it's in relations to periods, because he was not freaked out about a period.
Yeah.
He was like, no, let's fuck, let's smash. And
Mhm.
she was scared of her own period. And
So
that's a,
showers were invented.
well, and everyone's going to be have different levels of comfort, but I actually think that's kind of a good example of what I see in the media frequently is sometimes women are more scared of periods than men are, especially when it comes to sex, because most of them are like, hey, yo, get a towel. Like, just it's yeah, we're gonna clean up. So, but I think that's a really good example of bodies are weird, bodies do things. We don't always know how we feel about our own body because we don't know how to feel, like what's normal. So we don't talk about it enough. Everybody shits, people have periods, like just bodily function happens. People are sweaty. I'm sweaty right now. Like
everyone has a
balls are there.
smell. There's just
Yeah.
there's so much going on.
And
And
you're and also please PSA, don't douche. You don't need to douche. Your pussy does not need to smell like a lavender bouquet in spring. Pussy should smell like pussy. Okay, that's it. That's the sorry.
there's so many bumper stickers out of this episode, I swear to God. Um
Sorry, it's a body
no,
thing.
because
People are so
I
scared of
will
their own
no.
hygiene.
Listen, all right.
Okay, sorry.
From someone who has traversed that terrain in very close encounters, I will tell you that there have been incidences in the past where people have shied away and were scared for someone to explore that region simply because they had been told in the past that they had a smell.
Mhm.
And like the amount of baseball bat beatings that I wish I could give out to previous, sexual encounters of these people is completely asinine. Okay, it's incorrect. All right.
Yeah.
Like it first off, I just think about the amount of okay, the fact that the fact that persons are comfortable for just, engaging in blowjobs, all
Mhm.
right, when that area is just, not a playground to begin with, all right,
Mhm.
heat gets trapped down there, and it's just, I can only imagine, all right. So if you're not complaining on that end, like, what the ever loving fuck are we complaining about?
Mhm.
It's for okay, step on
I
my soapbox.
I
Sorry,
will say
go
on
ahead.
the flip side of that, if for whatever reason you want your body to have a different smell, I understand that what I said can come across as like shaming people who like want to wear like a perfume or
Oh yeah.
smell like that's not what this is.
Mm,
I want to be very clear. When it comes to like douching, if you're told you need to douche, and a lot of people are told they need to douche from a young age as part of
mhm,
the education they're given, that's actually not what your body needs. The vagina is a self-cleaning oven.
correct.
It and it has a delicate pH balance, and douching will disrupt that
Correct.
pH balance and actually make it more of a risk of infection. So, just from a hygiene and
Two certified health professionals are telling you right now
you
there
don't
is
need to douche.
there is a well-balanced forest down there, all right?
Mhm.
You don't need to. You don't.
Mm-mm. You don't
Okay?
need to shave either for hygiene. You just need just soap and water, clean the out.
Yep.
Just yeah, you don't. Your pussy is beautiful, honey. It's fine. Whoever needs to hear that. Okay, sorry. Do you want to move
I'm glad
on?
no, I'm glad we no, this is important. This is important because I feel like this is completely shied away from in any
Mhm.
aspect of sexual education. How many health teachers are going out there and be like, your pussy is beautiful, like you don't need to be doing any of this? No, it's all about um don't fuck,
Mhm.
okay? Because you're going to get pregnant and that's going to ruin your life and that's going to be the end of
That's it.
everything. Okay? That
They
health
also
class done.
That's it. You're
All
done.
right?
Like
Get out.
nothing else. There's
All
no
right?
other type of sex you can have.
Nope,
There's no other
nothing.
outcomes. Like
Nothing.
that's it. It's a
Doing
baby.
what? You're
Like
doing it where?
yeah.
No.
Um
Stop it.
I also just since talking about like health class, another thing you're not going to learn is
Mhm.
what does a vulva and what is a vulva supposed to look like? Is mine normal, quote unquote? And there are people who are in their 50s who will look at their like 60s old who look at their genitalia and think, I'm not normal, it's ugly. And there's probably a lot of that comes from porn. I've seen a lot of diverse bodies in the pornography I've watched. I seek out pornography that is not very mainstream partly for that reason. Yeah, RJ, I'm you're laughing. It's fine.
I just see. I'm. Here's the thing. I'm not laughing at that. I'm laughing at the idea that this is where you have to research. Like that is actually where you have to research. That is the most accurate form to see the most vast quantity of vaginas.
And
you
have to pay for that. It's not the free stuff. You're rarely, I'm not going to call out the websites, but the more mainstream stuff that ends up on free sites, like you're really not often going to find it there. But what I will say is I saw, like, there's this beautiful interaction on Twitter of all places that happen. And I think it was like on a confession Twitter channel where they post confessions. And somebody said, like, I just want to thank the person who talked to me through DMs about their vulva and helping me realize mine was normal. And we shared photos of our vulvas with each other and just looked at them. And I realized that mine's beautiful and it's normal. And I thought it was really ugly for a long time, but I'm not alone. And I'm like, these are like grown women having grown conversations and just being like, oh, like I've never, not all women are they're not seeking out what somebody else, like what their best friend looks like. They might,
I was never invited to those parties, so I don't know.
That's fine. And I think the same thing. I don't have a penis and testicles. I don't live in that world, but I imagine the same thing kind of has to happen. Like you feel like, am I normal?
And in the same voice, porn does not help that situation either.
No. So I think indie porn might help that, but
a little bit
general,
more.
Yeah.
We took a detour. We took a detour down a very different road than we thought we were going to, but I think this is as important, if not more, of an important discussion. Before we hop into our second flight, because I think that is where we are headed. As I love to do, I will wrap this up in the most genuine way to say it. That unless it burns, unless it hurts, unless there's discomfort, unless there's itching, unless there's discharge that is different than normal, everything's fine. You don't need to obsess over it. You don't need to worry about it. And those who comment on it negatively simply say it because they don't know what to do with it. So I will say that everyone has a beautiful, delicate flower down there. All right. And to anyone out there listening, it just really sucks that you have to live your life questioning whether or not any part of your body would be accepted by another person. Because the last person to judge you is anyone else. So just remember, be full of pride in knowing that you are beautiful. So in that, we will lead into flight number 2, because I think we need it. I think we
I think so.
Oh, that took a turn. Okay.
That took a turn, and I apologize. I don't even know at what point. It's just a pivot. It happens,
it was a sharp pivot. You ask one question, and then you learn. Every episode we learn a lot about the world, each other. Yeah. All right. So for my second flight, I'm gonna continue down the road of Johnny Walker. Now we've moved up in price a little bit. I didn't even give you the price of the last one. I think you can find Johnny Walker Red for like $25 or $30. So this is Johnny Walker Double Black. This is the middle, now going towards the better of the Johnny Walkers. $45 to $50. Doesn't burn like Satan's taint. It has a much I said what I said. It has a much more refined palate to it. It is not bad.
It's not bad.
It's not bad.
How much was it for not bad?
It's like $45 to $50.
For not bad?
The last one we're going somewhere with that. This actually might be more. It might be this bottle is like 8 years old. As I don't really it was in my basement. I haven't it's moved from like 3 houses, and I haven't had the opportunity or need to like go into it yet. There's so much other I drink. I'm just blathering on here. So cheers to Johnny Walker Double Black. May you be better than red.
You're going straight down with them, like just taking it back.
That actually is not bad.
Oh,
I was right. That is
remember?
not bad. The last time I drank Johnny Walker, I can't remember. So yes, it is technically better than whatever memory is sitting around in that tank up there. Nikki, what are you drinking? What are you drinking over there?
So I'm, for my second choice of the night, going with Bardstown. Bardstown Discovery Series number 7. On the first episode, I tried number 5. So my first whiskey today was Irish. The Bardstown series, they're a mix of different whiskeys, and I think they have like 5 different whiskeys in them. And this one has a high amount of Canadian whiskey that's like 100% corn. So this one has a lot of corn going on.
Yeah, it's corny.
I really like this one because it reminds me of like corn grits with maple syrup, but also like pepper, and there's like a leather to it and like a caramel aftertaste. And I guess for me, it doesn't taste like a food from my childhood. It tastes like if someone took a food from my childhood and put it in a Michelin star restaurant and then like cooked it down and distilled it. So it's like an adult version of something I used to have growing up, but it kind of gives me like creamy corn
whips because it's got leather.
Yeah, corn whips.
Okay. Corn whips.
All right.
There you go.
And it's an expensive bottle, and it is cask strength, so it's like 57% ABV. The bottle is $115. It's a good sized bottle, but it is an expensive one. So, I'm not gonna like knock mine back. I'm gonna sip. But cheers.
I'm a maniac. Don't you dare.
I would never.
No, it's not a good idea.
Okay. It's not a good look. Where are we going next?
Yeah, where are we going next? Okay, so we covered the idea of bodies are weird. And then I think the next portion that we want to talk about is kind of identifying how to navigate our bodies, who to talk to, what is the right mode of understanding any sort of body image issues, and kind of how to navigate that. And before we get into a little later on our third flight and a more heavy discussion about that, we're just kind of skim the surface here. So it's fair to assume that everyone has something about themselves that they are not 100% thrilled with. And it's difficult, especially when it might be something you can't change. Science can only go so far, obviously, but it might be something that is a lifelong issue. It might be something that you just physically, emotionally cannot do anything about. So how do you address that? How do you address the idea of going down the route of acceptance of that issue, going down the road of possible improvement if there is an avenue that exists that way? How do you get there? I think the first step is identifying that there is that issue, and that's the most difficult step for anybody. And Because obviously, who wants to bring to light what they don't like about themselves or what bothers them the most? So in your journeys as a sex and wellness guru, because I
Coach.
like that word. I like guru.
Okay.
If I was someone who approached you and came with, you know, something outwardly that I did not like about myself, like how would you approach that?
The first question is always, we'll just choose like a vague body part, like a hand, like, and
Okay.
this can be it could mean anything, but like
Mm-hmm.
my hand gives me a lot of, I would sort of probe, like, how do you feel about it? Like, what is the emotion associated with it?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and how does that, like, if it's distressing or it's really bothering you, like, how is that impacting relationships and sex, since that's sort of, you know, my wheelhouse there, but also just overall, how does it impacting like emotional health and mental wellness? Um, those are time, and there are times where referrals to a licensed uh, therapist, psychiatrist are more appropriate. And I have had that happen before when someone has come in and said, I have a real issue with XYZ, and just trying to get more information and sort of drill down and see if it's appropriate to come to me versus somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And just kind of learn a little bit. But so say it's, whatever it is, it's like your hand is bothering you because it's weird, whatever.
Weird hand syndrome. I gotcha.
Yeah, just like, an ear, nose, like whatever body part. And
Mm-hmm.
it's causing, if you're going to come to me and it's like, it's disrupting something in your relationship related to sex or
Mm-hmm.
romance. And it comes down to, is this something that you are internalizing that you've held on to for years? Where did that come from? Or is this something happening elsewhere that is current, where you're just like, okay, this person is telling me they don't like this about me.
Mm-hmm.
So when coming to me, I think that's more the situation that you're going to see is somebody maybe wanting to change something about themselves for someone else because they
Mm.
don't feel sexually attractive, or they feel like their partner has lost interest. So that's really what you're going to see with the people I work with,
Mm-hmm.
and the type of clients that will come to me. That can take on like where we go from there. It can really, oftentimes it's, you need like a referral to somebody else,
Yeah.
if it gets to a certain point. But if it's something where they're just like, I'm uncomfortable with XYZ, it has nothing to do with the other party, I just don't feel sexually comfortable with, I don't like my labia, like, let's call it that, like, I don't
Sure.
like something about my vulva and I think it's ugly. And
Mm-hmm.
I would do things like, well, why do you think it's ugly? And then I would encourage exploration, whether that be searching somehow for, there are a lot of references about an art dedicated to all the ways a vulva can look, Georgia O'Keeffe paintings, but, vagina museums, there's a lot of stuff like that. And it's like, so
Absolutely.
doing that sort of research to be like, hey, look, empower yourself, and then get to know yourself, with some mindful masturbation, if it's something
Mm-hmm.
like that. But kind of coming back to that point of like, what is it about this body part? Is there something else going on, or is it really like specifically like, I just don't like the way it looks? And then exploring the options, and the options for people can vary. But really, my starting point is like, let's just explore. Let's explore whatever that thing is that's bothering
Mm-hmm.
you, the reasons it's bothering you. If there's an external relationship where someone is telling you it's a problem,
Mm-hmm.
things like that. So that's kind of what you can see if you're a client of mine,
But
maybe.
it's so you go into this relationship, you know that your partner has this hand.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You willingly engage in this relationship. So unless now, how many this is
We could go to a different thing besides
No,
hand.
no. Okay, so no, I'm fine with it. It's not even that. It's like
That's
the
not bad.
instance in the idea is that so yours when they come to you, the first thing is this a problem that you have or is this a problem that your partner has?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's the distinction right there. Now, aside from like the hand thing, because we talked about this yesterday, there's a I kind of want to know what is like I'm assuming that weight is always like going to be a big topic
Mm-hmm.
between any sort of relationship because I know I'm going to say everyone everyone has their own battle with their weight.
Mm-hmm.
And, weight is something that obviously fluctuates, sometimes controlled, sometimes uncontrolled. Um, so it's difficult for me to try and like kind of wrap my head around, people who are like so adamant about pushing others to try and like change this thing
Mm-hmm.
about their partner when, we always go back to is it because you're losing a sexual desire to that person?
Mm-hmm.
Is that why if you want them to lose weight simply because you're not attracted to them anymore, like that is on you because you're not
Yeah.
attracted to them anymore.
And also relationships are built on more than sexual attraction. So if you met
100%.
somebody, if you met someone and you're 25 years old and you met them and you married them and you went through all the vows, all the expensive paperwork and wedding
Very
and all of
expensive.
that. But whatever it is, if you make a commitment to somebody else, even if it's dating for a long time, if it's
Mhm.
a romantic relationship, the thing that got you there in the first place, if it was sex based on attraction, so an aesthetic attraction that was also a
Mhm.
sexual attraction, and those
For
two
those who
things
wanna
were,
learn about aesthetic attractions,
yeah.
you can go back to episode 3.
But I think that, sexual attraction and aesthetic attraction, those are like totally different things. So
Mhm.
if the thing that is bothering you is like, I'm not sexually attracted to my partner anymore because of an aesthetic thing, was
Mhm.
that a thing that got you into the relationship in the first place? Was that
Mhm.
one thing when they were 25, when they were 30, that did you always think it was going to be the same?
Yeah.
Because people change. And that's the thing about bodies. They're weird. We age, life
Mhm.
circumstances change.
Yeah.
I don't want to get on the rage soapbox, but the expectation that we don't change, our bodies don't change with age, is absolute bullshit. And that's partially a societal thing. Like,
Mhm.
you know, that's pushed on us, like anti-aging this, like we're trying to stop aging.
Mhm.
And there are a lot of people who see their partner age and they're like, ew, I don't
Ugh.
like, and
Yuck.
it's like, I don't even, and in those situations, so I have had people come in and they're like concerned about weight. I cannot, I don't want to get like super specific. I'm going to take it a little bit more vague. And this is something, yeah, you could definitely find on message boards somewhere in confessions. Like, I'm not attracted to XYZ because of their weight and they
Mhm.
gain weight, or my partner says they're not attracted to me because of my weight. And in that situation, it's like, well, that person also needs to do some fucking soul searching on why they're in that relationship to begin with.
Correct.
If they're like, if it's a committed relationship, if you have kids and everything, like, I just
Mhm.
imagine like all of that and then looking at your partner, looking at this person and saying, oh, your thighs jiggle too much and there's a bit of cellulite and like some stretch marks and I don't want to fuck you anymore. And
That
you're
boob
and
is saggier than that boob, and your eye just goes like this, and I don't like it.
that eye thing has always been there. Fuck you. Gravity is the other thing. Like, I need to do whatever anyway.
Yes.
Um, but doing some serious soul searching, it's like, is it possible that a partner is, there are other things going on in the relationship and maybe they're
Mhm.
hyper fixating on something you can change, which is
Correct.
your weight. And so your
Mhm.
partner kind of comes at you for that.
Yeah.
Is there more going on? Honestly, at that point, relationship therapist, relationship counselor, like I'm always going to refer to that, because I personally don't want to have like a couple in the room and try to navigate that. It's not where my training is. It's not where my focus is. So I recommend relationship, I don't say marriage counselors, relationship counselors for people if they're at that point. But it all comes down to communicating and figuring it out. However, if you're looking at someone and you're like, I can't fuck them anymore because this thing changed about them, and that's the only thing that was redeemable about that relationship before, then ooh, what's that Reddit thread, RJ? Am I the asshole?
Yes.
Yeah, you're the asshole if you think that like a whole relationship is worth throwing away because some sort of aesthetic change that is natural part of being a human being. Yeah, and also just throwing it out there, if you feel like your eyes are wandering to another person because you're not sexually fulfilled because of some weird thing about your partner's changed and there's no more sexual attraction, stop that right now, because divorce is expensive, and maybe you can have a conversation with your partner, and maybe you should, but sometimes you're just an asshole and I hope that person kicks you to the curb. Okay, that's like a baby rage soapbox. I'm done. Where were we?
Yeah.
You told me yesterday I could be mean.
I did say that. I did say that.
Yeah.
I did. And this is exactly what I wanted our discussion to turn to, because everything we talk about kind of builds up, and I see it every time we do our flights, and everything leads from one thing to another. And part of it is when we start looking outwardly in a relationship. Okay, we'll we'll confine to the relationship idea. So you see something in your partner that you don't like about them, something that is either changed over time or something that was always there, and you just either were blinded by something else, or regardless, that happens. But then also, you kind of get into this other weird thing where it's like you start to internalize, am I still good enough myself for this partner? And that's kind of the other side of this narrative. I mean, if I'm wrong, you can correct me. I see that too as, for all the assholes out there, I completely agree with Nikki that the grass is not greener. There is a reason why that person loves and trusts and has been with you since the start, because you're not a bucket of fucking sunshine yourself. Okay. So let's recap on that. But I will say the other side of it, and sometimes the more concerning avenue, is people who are in committed relationships and now find themselves feeling like they are quote unquote unfuckable. They feel like the weight has been put on them, that there is something wrong with them. And as much as it is externalized, I've put on weight, or my skin is not as tight as it used to be, I don't have that look, like my teeth are fucked up now, whatever it is. Sometimes the loudest critic is yourself, obviously. And no amount of reassurance from your partner, you look the same, nothing has changed, still love you, stuff like that, because the voice inside your head is always louder.
Oh yeah.
And sometimes it's darker, more damaging. So I definitely say that's the other demon, and we'll kind of get into that in a little bit. But I did want to go back to what yeah, we're jumping back again. So we've talked about kind of these relationships where we focus on improvement of others, and the body image idea that we talk about. We're talking about later on in life. We're talking about established relationships. So let's backtrack, okay? Because I think a major issue now is teens, and I'm going to say teens, because you are a fun generation right now, but it sucks for you. I see kids on TV shows now who are actually grown adults. They're in their 20s, who have had pre-fitted scientific diets and workout routines, who are playing high schoolers and giving you this very weird fake look of what is reality. And it's not. Okay. We were all awkward in high school. Okay. We just were. So there is this preform reality that is, it doesn't exist. Okay. It is magic. It is camera magic. It is light magic. It is magic itself. And I find it really disconcerting the fact that we have kind of, with the advent of social media, we have kind of put these adults, because that's what they are. Okay. I really don't know any high schoolers who actually are starring as high schoolers in any sort of teen dramas.
Not anymore. Yeah.
No, not anymore. We put these people on these unattainable pillars, and the two sides of it, and it's awful, is that one, we are then looking at ourselves and being like, why don't I look like that? And then we're also putting this onus on these celebrities being like, shit, I have to maintain this, or I'm gonna fucking kill myself. Like that is 100%. And you now see why, mental health is being driven into the ground. Yeah. Because both sides is being lied to. So Nikki, I want, what should we be doing? What can we say? What is this? What can we do?
So there's a kind of a theme to my whiskey flight today, and it's all related to writing and creativity. And I think part of it is distinguishing between reality and fantasy and media literacy. In this particular instance, when you're talking about celebrity, and how that can impact teens, but then also the expectation of actors to do that type of stuff to their bodies for entertainment. So, but when you're looking at it, a lot of it's going to be related to porn literacy on one hand, and media literacy and education. In terms of getting
porn literacy on one hand, I can't let that slide.
What did I say? Oh,
porn
God.
Literacy on one hand.
No, you can let it slide. Let it slide, dude.
Let it slide, dude.
Just let it slide.
All right.
Oh man, I'm turning like bright red. I can feel it. Oh, okay.
Nikki has a filter on. Just let it be.
I don't have. Okay, what was I just talking about?
I completely derailed that. You actually were going somewhere very good. The first part you were talking about was porn literacy, and then you were jumping into the next thing.
So just general, any media, porn, anything that you watch that is fantasy. It is not reality. What we are as human beings is not what you're going to see portrayed in any sort of media, magazines, stories, like novels, not even any comic books, just any. That is not the same as reality. And the way things are portrayed, we're so connected to stories, and we tend to, like, a damn good story, we can emotionally connect to a character.
Yeah.
And if we emotionally connect to characters and storylines and plots, but these characters are all contributing to this idea that there is a way to look, and that's some sort of standard, and that's the normal, like, okay, then that's a problem. And changing that, honestly, the answer, like, for a big, like, on that big scale, it's like, I don't want to be like, good fucking luck, but as long as there are people in charge who want to let that aesthetic be seen as the normal aesthetic, because that makes money, I have no idea how to solve that problem. What we can do is focus on educating our kids at a young age, like, hey, bodies are weird, and that's not what they look like. And teaching our kids, whether that's promoting sex education programs that are age appropriate in schools, or finding that information online, or talking to your kids. If you don't have kids, sometimes like being the cool aunt is it. Like that's me. That's like my permanent role in people's lives. Like finding someone to have that education and about look, what is normal? It does come down to that education on the individual level, on the school level, on the societal level, and then knowing the difference. Because honestly, I get very, very sad when I see a character in a comic book, especially because I love comics, that is just, I love everything about it, but I see this character and it's the same physical character, like a skinny hourglass with huge tits, and like, why do the nipples go up? Like nipples like shouldn't have, how are, what is this gravity defying nipple situation? Like what is it? But it doesn't, the point is like I'll see that and I'm like, I'm just disappointed because I really love this character and I really love this story, and yet this idea, this body image is being perpetuated by a company that I love. And what do? Like I'm still going to buy the story and the comic. um I'm not going to not buy it because it's just, that's how it is everywhere. So
Yeah.
and what I do I would recommend like, oh, buy indie comics if you're in that situation. I'm actually talking about indie comics, so you see it everywhere.
You do.
Yeah.
I didn't
I don't know.
expect you to have the answer for everything, but I think that was a damn good start, and I'm exceptionally proud that you just had that like locked and loaded and ready to go.
Oh, it's something I think about a lot. That's why I have like a writing flight, because I write, and when I write, I want my characters to
anime tits. I got you.
Like, can we have more like vampires that like with tit? Okay, look, a vampire that's like 200 years old. I don't care what sort of magic they have. Your tits are gonna fall. I'm so sick of them being like like you just, if someone turned me into a vampire in 200 years, like I don't expect to be looking hot. Like I expect to just look the way, like dimples in my ass and everything. Like nothing's changed.
But aren't vampires supposed to be like the plate of vitality and like eternal youth?
Do you? No, not in all cases. Like I'm like, we're not doing an episode about vampire lore. Like, no, it's more of a, I'm not going there with vampire
Nikki.
lore. But if you think about anyone, any character out there, like we just see hot vampires all the time. And I'm like, I just would like
I want some
thick,
fugly dick. That's why Gary Oldman as Dracula.
Love Gary.
Or Leslie Nielsen in Dracula Dead and Loving It. That's a great film. Mel Brooks.
Anyway,
I need another drink.
Yeah, I don't know how to move on to the next segue except shoot this back. Tell me about yours, unless you have something to add to whatever chaos I just said.
I 100% don't. I'm just going to go into flight number 3. As you guessed it, I have another Johnny Walker. This is Johnny Walker Blue. This is the top shelf Johnny Walker. It goes for anywhere from $185 to $200 a bottle. It is smooth as can be, and there is no better way to put it than it's in a class of its own, and it's in a glass of its own. See what I did there?
It's adorable.
That was like water. That shouldn't have been as smooth as it was.
How dare the audacity?
Fuck you. You fight me back.
How dare you be delicious?
I feel like I should pour another red in there, and just to remember how bad it started and how good and how better it got. Nikki, what are you drinking over there? Vampire's Blood.
Yeah, that's my secret to this
it's
excellent.
for vitality.
why my stretch marks look so good is I drank vampire blood.
Oh, stop.
That's yeah. My goal in life is to look exactly my
Getting all
age.
hot and bothered over here. Keep going.
I am too, but it's because it's like 80 degrees in this room. So anyway, um, if I say this wrong, please shame me. I want you to shame me. Because I'm going with Scotch. And it's Lefroy. Is that how you say that? I don't like I think that's how you say it. I Googled it, but I'm like, I'm going to mispronounce
Lefroy.
most.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Lefroy.
Lefroy. Like
Lefroy.
most of the scotches out there, I really struggle to pronounce. I have to look it up. So and it's that if you try to look it up and what the spelling is, you totally get it. There's a
I
lot
think
of
it's
vowels in there.
LAPHOR.
Laphr,
Or
and then I scribbled out some
LIAG.
vowels, and
Lefroy.
then there's a G. Yeah,
Yeah.
Lefroy. And this is their lore collection, or I don't know if it's a
Mm.
collection. It's just called lore.
Is
And
this the cast strength one?
no,
Oh.
no, it's like back there somewhere. It's like 45%.
Okay.
And they have like this touching story on the back of the bottle, which I could go get it, but I'm not going to. I could have written it down. I didn't.
100 years ago, our master went to a slumber. Sorry, go ahead.
Scottish. Wait, I want a Scottish vampire. That's what I want.
200
So,
years ago, our master went to a slumber.
oh my God, thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm not going on a tangent. Oh, I really want to. I so want to. So the back of this bottle talks about like the lore of Lefroy, like the story of Lefroy and how this particular scotch is supposed to like carry that heritage. And I like lore as storytelling. It's like this passed along history, what we share with others, especially, and how we connect to others. So I tried this and I think it is my favorite fucking thing in my house right now.
Ooh.
And that sucks because it's like I think of like the most expensive whiskeys in my house. It's like number
Up there.
3. Yeah, it's 175.
Oh wow, we both brought like some high-end shit.
And I just wanted to go with this like writing and storytelling theme, and I like picked I like went to get it off the shelf, and my partner's like, by the way, that one is, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, yeah, screw it, we're doing it. And he's like, just, I know you just anyway. I tried this and I was like, this is what would happen if someone opened a restaurant over like the nice, like salty sea air water, like they have the deck over the ocean, and it's just like such salty air. And then what they did is if they took like the most bitter piece of chocolate they could, somehow smoked it, and then added citrus and salt, and it just works. And there's a bit of like leatheriness to it. I don't know, it just feels like I'm drinking a Michelin starred restaurant.
You keep
like,
tasting leather, and I'm concerned for you.
Maybe it's because there's
there's
different episode, different
stuff.
episode, different episode, not this episode. We can talk about leather. Yeah, let's just no, but there's like a touch of leather in it, not too much, but I think for me it just tastes like a very high quality, like innovative, fancy dessert with like very simple ingredients. But it's very drinkable, and I hate how expensive it is because I just want to drink it all. So cheers. Yeah, that's all I have. No, it's not.
So while Nikki is sipping, because I feel like this is a time for sipping, I'm going to again post a content warning. I mean, obviously we already discussed body image issues, but the next part is going to be similar to episode 3, where Nikki graciously gave us a very touching story on her own identity. I'm going to dive deep into my own past, and talking about eating disorders, my own body image dysmorphia, So again, this would be a good time to pause and put something else on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or however you're enjoying our episode today, because it's going to get real. So without further ado, my story. Okay, so starting from a younger age, I have always been, I was thinner when I was younger, and then I kind of hit 10, like a brick through water, and I looked like a normal 10-year-old boy. I was husky, is what the kids would say. And I never had a great relationship with food. I was I always had availability to food, always towards high carb, sugar, stuff like that. Stuff that wasn't good for you, obviously. And I was in a position where both my parents worked, and a lot of my time was spent being watched by my grandmother. And so there kind of wasn't like, constant eyes on me. And I did participate in sports. I never was to the point where, things were uncomfortable and like I had like limited mobility or anything like that. That wasn't me. But all through middle school and high school, I definitely struggled with my weight, to the point where I was attracted to the opposite sex, but I was fearful, because I thought that who would ever want to date with me? Who would ever want to interact with me? So I made it a point, rather than actively pursue anybody, I would just try and be friends with everyone I could. And that actually helped a lot, because it taught me to kind of form a personality and learn how to talk and interact with people. And it didn't hurt either that I had a very charismatic best friend, and it just made things easier. And he also was heavier at the time, but as we hit high school and later on, he lost a decent amount of weight, and I unfortunately kept my weight. um, I did have a girlfriend in high school and going into college, and I just never was happy with what I saw in the mirror. Now I'm going to pause and say that, because I had said it yesterday, and I'm not the face of eating disorders. This is not what you imagine. I'm not the face of body dysmorphia. This is not what you imagine, but this is the reality. And I'm sure there are plenty of people out there like me, silently struggling, because it's something that is obviously not readily talked about or accepted. Men in the community with body dysmorphia and eating disorders. But I digress. So I enter into college. I had a serious girlfriend at the time, and she was happy with how I looked. And I had built a little confidence in that area, and I started losing weight, and I felt good about that. And then we split, gained a little weight back, and I eventually started hanging out with another group of friends before I started my nursing career, nursing school specifically. And the friends I was with, two of them had eating disorders, and I had never even thought about it. Like the idea had never really crossed my mind. Like I'd never like gone that route. And at the time, I'm 6'3". At the time, I was like 225 pounds, 230 pounds. So even in the scope of things, like I looked like anybody else. Which is why, it's crazy thinking about it now. But I made it a point where during meals where I felt like I had overeaten, I would run to the bathroom. I would make myself throw up. I would pause a little minute, wait until like I washed my mouth out, and I looked more presentable to go back to the table. Um, and if anybody asked, I just told them that I had IBS, that I had an irritable irritable bowel. Had to go to the bathroom. It is what it is. Because that was the easiest way to cover for it. And I would make a point to try and cut down on. I had like a system in my mind where I knew if I eat breakfast, I was okay, and then if lunch was too heavy, I would just throw that up, and then if I had what I considered a good dinner, where it was a healthy dinner, I was fine. If not, I would just throw that up too. And then when I started noticing that I was losing a weight from that, because you do, at first, I then was like, oh, let me add exercise into this. And I started running 4 to 5 miles a day. And then I would swim. I would lift. I would do so much stuff while not taking in a ton of calories. So by probably a year and a half of all this, I had gone from 230 to 165. And asking people now about how I looked then, some said that I looked just thin. Some people said, oh, you looked great. Which is, obviously tough to look back on now because it still is something that you think about. But anyway, I continued on this kind of path, and obviously at some point, the working out kind of took a backseat to work and to life. I met my girlfriend, future wife, and we were together for a while, still are. And we, a couple years down the road, she had stopped me, and she had asked me something, and she was like, you run to the bathroom and people are talking, and I need to know from you. You have to tell me, like, are you making yourself throw up? I was like, no, why would I do that? Like, that's ridiculous. I'm a guy. Like, I don't do that shit. She was like, okay, like, I won't ask you again. I said, okay. 5 years later, we were at my house. It's now 2017. So this is almost a decade since I started doing it. And I'd come out of the bathroom and she'd ask me again. And she's like, I heard you. She's like, I know what you're doing. She's like, you have to tell me. You have to be honest with me. And everything kind of hit me at once. And I was like, you know what? I'm tired of lying to this person. And so I told her everything. Sat down, explained why I did it, kind of how often I was doing it. And granted, it was the highest point of it was probably in the first 3 years of starting, and then it wasn't as consistent, getting going later and later on. But obviously still there was some like triggers, like if I considered I'd had a big meal, and weren't comfortable with eating that amount of food, like that, I would just throw up. But here's the trick. You're hungry. You're still hungry. So in that moment, your body still craves food because it just emptied everything. And after you had eaten a meal, like I would be back at my house or something like that. So to satiate, I'd be munching on crap and junk. And, that is just, you're replacing, these good calories that you got from like an actual balanced meal with junk calories. But so I quit cold turkey, and I mean, there's not a time or two that goes by where I think about it. And I mean, luckily I talked to my therapist about it, among other issues. But my therapist explained to me, and I agree. It's like any other addiction, because that's what it is. You will be faced constantly with this battle, and it'll just be you being one day more added to your total of days you've gone without doing it. And that's going to be every day. And some days are going to be easier. Some days are going to be harder. But I will say that I know some friends knew that I did it and just never said anything. There are some people who just absolutely had no idea. So if you're listening now, you do know. My parents had addressed it at one point. And then I found out that my mother, when she was younger, had an eating disorder, and apparently it's a genetic related issue. Usually, if you have a family member who does it or has any sort of eating disorder, there's usually more than one. And I think my relationship with food has always been a struggle and will always be a struggle. And I think that it's tough for me because my self-worth has always been tied into how I look and my weight, obviously. I think it's also difficult too about the praise that I got when I was thin, and I looked like an Olympic swimmer. like so it's tough. Now I'm rocking my dad bod and I'm comfortable with that. It's difficult to look at yourself and be happy ever. I hope one day I will look in the mirror and finally be accepting of what I see. I know the reality in that, and I accept the reality in that. It's still tough. And I will say that had it not been for my wife saying something and feeling the most shame that I've ever felt in my life, I don't think I would have ever stopped. So I'm glad it happened. I'm glad it was addressed. I'm glad that I stopped. I will say for those who are struggling themselves, the health risks involved are not something to be taken lightly. I have silent reflux because it's thought that my esophageal sphincter has been kind of irritated to the point where gastric acid still spurts up my esophagus and is probably eroding it, which I now have to take a tonics every day for it. I know that the enamel in my teeth is a lot weaker than it should be. I was a preemie, and a lot of preemies are not born with a ton of enamel on their teeth to begin with. So I'm probably looking down the road at some major dental issues, which is just love to think about. And then also can mess with the rhythm of your heart. And then just the lying, the being comfortable with lying to so many people about something is something that you should never get comfortable with, because it gets easier, and it shouldn't get easier to lying to people. So at this point, I know you have questions that you'd like to ask me, and I'm an open book. I just talked about probably the most dark thing in my life, so go ahead.
So earlier, one of the things we were talking about is just kind of what can go wrong, like the worst case scenario in a relationship with communication where you want somebody to change, and because sexual attraction, like that type of thing. To me, what I'm hearing is that you and your wife, communication, and this is something we picked up on from the beginning, just me knowing you, communication is critical in all relationships. So when I know this about you, but then you have a moment where you're confronted and you're like, I can't. You continue, you lie. In your mind, what truly was that reason? Like looking back now, not how you sort of dismiss it and kind of move on once you get comfortable with the lie. But like
Mm-hmm.
looking now at your reasons and how communication has changed in your relationship, like what does that look like?
I think, I mean, when I talk about the most shameful event being that, I finally admitted to it after so long. Um, I know when I was first confronted with it, we were, okay, so we were about 2.5, almost 3 years into our relationship. We might have just been like recently engaged when it had first come up. Um, and it had been such a form of comfort for me to know that I had that and I could like maintain how I looked. That you don't want to give it up,
Mhm.
and you value, and I'm going to say addiction. That's what it was. You value that addiction over your relationship, over anything. Um, because if you don't do that, is your partner going to feel the same way about you if you look differently? And I think that from a young age, my family placing a lot of worth into appearance kind of played a big role in that. And just the fear of not looking a certain way um, made me rationalize to myself that it is okay to continue doing this, and to lie to not only my future wife and current wife, but to any friend who would confront me or any other family member. Like
Mhm.
it just was, it was an acceptable lie to me. And no lie should be acceptable. And again, it's something that I'm still dealing with in therapy right now, thinking about how luckily I have someone who does trust me and I trust them enough. And it's something that has been built since. And knowing that this is kind of the moment that you can look back on and be like, I never want to feel like that again. I never want to do something like that to that person again. And if I could go back, I would have never started, obviously. Or if I could go back to the first time that I was confronted, I would have stopped then.
Mhm.
And again, it's something that I will always, when you're the most critical of yourself, you kind of dredge up the worst things you've ever done. And that is pretty much at the forefront. And that's the thing when you're at your lowest, that's your mind's really fucking funny. It just brings that right up to, it's like, hey, remember this? Remember when you did this? Because like I said earlier, we're kind of our worst critics at times.
Mhm.
And so yeah, I mean there's no one else that I could, I mean, as much as I want to say, oh well, I mean, I just said, oh my family had already always placed appearance, social, I still did it. Like it's all on me. Like there's no other blame to be placed. Like I was still the one, in control, and that's it. Was I in control? Like it was more that controlled me than me being in control.
Was it
So I mean,
almost
that's,
like you felt like that was the thing you were able to control? So therefore,
oh,
like,
100%. Because
yeah.
if I did that, then I controlled my weight. I controlled how I looked. I controlled how I
Mhm.
felt. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. What
It,
else?
well, if somebody out there is in a relationship
Hmm.
and kind of in the that mentality of like you're protecting something, which is part of the reason it's a lie. You're protecting something that feels good.
Hmm.
Um, but maybe they want to start, like, to just reach out for help, especially with their partner or anybody else. What, do you have anything that you would
Any
say?
advice?
Like, just anything that you would say about communicating with your partner about something like this, or even your own, if you're struggling with your own self-worth because of a relationship you have with your body, like, how would you talk to your partner about it,
Okay.
especially from the perspective of a man, because we don't get that perspective a lot when it comes to eating disorders and body dysmorphia.
All right. We're gonna this is good because this is I actually I thought we might have this question. So I'm glad that this is the question. Um hey, you out there in Radioland. If this is happening to you and you are being controlled by this, because it is, you're being controlled by this. I would say to you that if you have a partner that you're serious with and you love and you trust, then all you're doing right now is lying. That's the flat out truth. You're just lying. Um, and if you can lie about this, what else can you lie about? So I'd say to you, first off, you're going to get caught. It's going to happen. It's bound to happen. It will happen. You can either be a coward like I was the first time and just dig in deeper, or you can know that this person is calling you out from a place of love and they want to get help for you and they want to get help with you. Um, or you might not be lucky enough to have my wife as a partner and someone who is able to overlook the first misstep and realize that there was a much larger issue than realized at first, and you might lose this person forever. So I'd say your first step is that even if it's not your spouse, significant other, someone other than yourself has to know that this is going on. And I would lean towards a professional. I would lean towards someone who will probably give you the same advice that I would, to talk to your spouse about this. But if you feel ashamed, if you feel scared, if you need the courage to be built up to talk about this, or you don't know how to address it, you don't know how to bring it up, there was someone out there willing to talk to you. Hell, you can reach out to me. I'll talk to you about it. But more importantly, and this is going to sound stupid coming from me, but you need to stop. Like there's no other way to say it. You just need to stop. There's no good outcome that will be from this. You can trust me on that. And I will say that if finding a professional is your avenue that goes down, ultimately it will come back to talking to your significant other, spouse, whatever it is. Because if you truly love, trust that person, then they need to know. But I will say it is important that you also need to recognize that this is something that is going to be with you for the rest of your life. And if you don't address it now, there's not going to be a better time. There really isn't. So yeah, I guess that's the best advice I can give. That's the only advice I give. I don't I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I
Well,
hope that helped.
I think sharing and choosing to be so vulnerable and put this out there is something, yeah. I'm very touched that you felt like you were able to share this. And I know we have a lot of shenanigans on this show. But I think deep down, like, our goal is we do want to help people when it comes to education, sex education, their relationships with their bodies, and that's why sharing stories is important to us. And RJ, like, I cannot thank you enough for sharing this journey and the advice that you have. And if you are struggling with an eating disorder, um, reach out. We can put resources out there. Probably will. Um, I honestly, like, I think I'm so people need to hear that hard stuff sometimes because they may not realize, like you did at some point, you're like, oh wait, how bad is this really? Like, how what are the other stakes here as well? So thank you so much and for sharing it. I do not know what else to say.
Well, first off, how dare you steal my wrap up?
Oh, what did I?
I love the
I did
wrap up.
not steal
My
it.
favorite
No,
part is wrapping up the
I was.
episode.
Oh, well, that's good that your favorite part's
Yeah,
wrapping up.
my favorite part is
That's
wrapping up. Ladies and
great.
gentlemen, we're
Good.
going to go back to sex and whiskey. We're going to talk about wrapping up and how that is an
Wrapping it up.
important part of. Um, no,
Well,
I
I'm not
will.
trying to take it. I was just gonna. I'm thanking you, like, sincerely from the bottom of my heart for sharing that with
Oh, I know,
our
I know.
audience. But you want to wrap it up? You could probably wrap it
Well,
up way better than
you
I
know how
can.
I feel about moments of emotional weakness and how dare you even just let that slip in here. Freezing. So I will say yes, that was very difficult to talk about. And I know I have friends who are going to be listening to this. I know the person who's going to be editing this episode has never heard me talk about this. So uh, there you go. It is something that I obviously have not brought up um, for multiple reasons because I've never felt really comfortable talking about it. And it's not something that you just like bring up at parties, like, hey, I had an eating disorder. I'm also a fan of the Eagles. Like, what can we is there something in between that we can land on? But I wish more people did that. That would be like, yeah, yeah, I
Yeah.
have bipolar disorder and I'm a big fan of queso. Like,
Can we talk about
can we
this?
talk about,
Let's
you know,
destigma.
do
I
you
mean,
have the voices in
honestly,
your head?
like, there is something to be said. It's just like,
Yeah.
can we just talk about what's going on and be
What's
real? Because
going on?
in
Let's
many
go.
cases, I think people are struggling and they don't want to talk about it because no one's willing to
Correct.
say they're an Eagles
Yes.
fan. I mean, and have
I see what you fucking did there, and how dare you?
I don't have any
Um,
problem with the Eagles. I'm sorry.
yeah,
I just
I know. There's nothing
but
there. There's nothing to have a
not
problem with.
no
Um,
not everyone
yes, I
wants to.
will.
Yeah.
I will say that this was cathartic. I enjoyed it. It's a good way to start. We're recording this on Monday, so this is a
Oh, it's
fucking hell of a way to start a Monday.
wow.
I'm really
Yes.
diving in deep. And also it's the Monday leading up to Father's Day. So happy Father's Day out there. I think too, if we're gonna jump back just ever so quickly, um, my son was born in 2013, and when the second time my wife approached me in 2017, I think part of that shame too that I discussed about lying to my wife is also kind of being like, hey, you're also a parent. And would you want your child to be hesitant to share something like this with you? Would you want your son, daughter, whomever, um, to kind of have the weight of the secret on them and never feel comfortable about talking to anybody about it? And no, the answer is no, you don't. So I will delicately wrap this up. by thanking Nikki for allowing me the space to talk about it, asking very important questions regarding it, and just saying this was a 2/3 fun episode, 1/3 thought-provoking deep episode. So in closing, if you or anyone you know out there is suffering, struggling with body image dysmorphia, with eating disorders, reach out. There are plenty of places and people willing to help you. With that, I have been RJ, your co-host.
I'm Nikki still.
Still Nikki.
I've been Nikki.
You're still Nikki.
I'm still Nikki. I'm a very grateful co-host to have RJ.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, you're okay. Oh. So anyway,
that's fine. I'll take it. Yeah. No, like 4 out of 10. It's fine.
We'll find that other 6 somewhere. Yeah. Phrasing. All right. For Sex and Whiskey, we will see you next time. Thank you all out there. Good night.